Everybody, welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name. Welcome to another Expedition 33 video. Why haven't I done a Lune video yet? I've done so many damage videos, kind of like on my L. That's really the only character I've demonstrated in any kind of builds type stuff that I've done. So today we're going to get Lune out of the way. We are going to, not out of the way, I mean, I like her a lot, but we are going to do 5 builds in one video. We're going to do the best AoE late game super damage build, which is probably the best damage build overall. We're going to do a really good single target damage build. We are going to do a burn based build. We're going to do a meme dream build. And we're going to do the one here that I'm going to show you first, which is the support build. So we don't need to dilly dally. Let's jump right into it. Oh, I guess I do need to dilly dally a little bit. Quickly is, when it comes to Luminas, I'm not going to go into detail about that kind of stuff, really. I will tell you where to get the weapons I'm going to talk about and what skills to use and stuff, but there's so many Luminas and different Pictos and stuff. It's kind of like a pick your favorite, you know, more energy is good, more damage is good, more survivability is good. So if there's any that are like super important, I will point them out, but otherwise it's kind of a pick your favorite, okay? So without further ado, let us jump into it. So support Lune. What is she doing here? This is kind of similar to the build I ran for her most of the game. I kind of ran her more as a support hybrid with a little bit of damage. There were times in the game she was my best damage dealer, and there were times in the game where she just wasn't keeping up. And so I kind of had her go between the two. But what is her main role here? Her main role is not to damage enemies. Her main role here is to support the team in whatever way she can. Meaning it might be using items, which is very good. It could be using the ability to revive, which is good because you have items, but sometimes this is just better because not only does this generate a light resource, you know, a light stain, which is good because you could use it with any skill. It also saves your items because if you're playing on expert and you don't have a lot of defensive stuff, you're just getting one shot. You could run out of those. I've run out of revival Pictos a lot, or not Pictos, revival, whatever, drinks many a time. So rebirth has been very good. So rebirth is very good. Ice Lance is kind of the bread and the butter, slowing the enemies. That is her primary job. Not the only thing she'll do, but it is the primary job. So you have 2 different versions of slow here. You have the Ice Lance for single target. This is also a very good ability because it generates a light resource and an ice stain. I can't know, why don't I remember the stain? And then Crippling Tsunami. This one costs 1 more and it does quite a bit more damage for only 1 more energy, and it hits everybody. So this is one that you could use because it's better. I would say it's pretty much strictly better, but it does require 3 stains to actually get that extra damage bonus, and it does cost an extra energy. So earlier in the game, if I didn't care, I honestly just didn't really care. So if you get the greater slow Lumina, that is going to be like an essential one here because her main job is to keep the enemy slowed. Now, Typhoon is another ice skill that you have here. It just heals all allies and it deals damage. I like having these types of abilities. Same with Stormcaller. These are abilities that she could use once and then they will damage over 3 turns, or in this case, 3 to 5 turns. So this will not only heal your allies for 3 to 5 turns and deal ice damage, but this will also deal damage over 3 to 5 turns. Or sorry, this one's just 3. The Earth one is 3 to 5 turns. But this means she could use these when your team is topped off, and then when they are dying, or if she needs to revive or heal or slow, she doesn't need to necessarily miss out on much damage because she's already used these skills that are dealing damage, right? So she is missing out on some damage, but she's continuing to dish it out. Also, I personally like having Rock Slide. This is just I like having a skill on every character that can break. Later on, it's not as big of a deal because you can get the Sniper Lumina, which makes it so your first shot every turn does 200% damage and breaks. But until you have that, it's just nice to have break on every character, have at least one skill that is capable of doing it. If you don't need that on this skill, then I would replace it with either Terraquake to have, again, more break damage. I also really like Thermal Transfer because sometimes this is just, before you get double turns, this is an easy way to get double turns and to generate more AP than what your normal attack can do. And also, of course, without thinking about it off the top of my head, the Crustal Crush, right? 5 hits. This is one of your more powerful early game damage dealing skills. So this is very good, and it does a lot of break damage. So I do like Crustal Crush as well. Now, as far as the weapon, we are using the Redolim. You can get this in Old Lumiere after the final boss fight there, trying to avoid spoilers. This is a weapon I think is pretty great for her especially when you get it. It will fall off once you get to Act 3, not because it's a worse weapon necessarily, but once you get Cheater, this becomes much worse. But here's what it goes. You can tell I didn't really level it up because I got Cheater pretty early. But healing skills generate additional light stains. So that means when you do use your rebirth, you're going to get 2 light stains, which again, stains are just very good. It means you're always getting the best benefit from your skills when you have them. You generate 1 ice stain at the beginning of each turn. That kind of doesn't matter at all. Not literally, but I don't think it's very good. The final one, replay instantly upon consuming stains with a healing skill. So this, because you can tell I don't have it leveled up, I don't know if this will allow you to cheat more than 2 turns. Typically, if you can get a second turn, that's the most you can get without speed or something. But if this means you could use a skill that consumes something and then get some light stains and then get another turn that heals something and then get some light stains, like if you could chain a couple turns together, this seems really, really good. So this is what I would use for the support character. Once you get to the later game and gradient attacks become kind of meta, I would then switch to the Bracelium, and then you get 5% gradient charge on a critical hit. That combined with your Stormcaller is just going to give you so much charge very easily. And it's good because it doesn't really you don't really care about dealing damage when you're just building gradient charges, but this will let you build a lot of gradient charges for your other characters. And I think this becomes the default once you get Cheater and you have the gradient skills you actually want to be using. So this is the only build. I'm going to show you a demonstration of all of them, basically. But as far as a healing support build, it's not really something you need to showcase, I don't feel like. You're not getting some crazy good show out of it. It's just me healing, right? So, but this one, again, to give you the rundown, you're slowing enemies down. You're keeping your allies topped off. You have the ability to revive them. You have the ability to chain multiple turns together. And then you have ability to deal damage when it's not your turn or automatically when your turn starts. And you have the ability to break. And that's not even including any of the Luminas you can get where you can make your items stronger, all the defensive stuff. There's a lot of different ways you can mix it up in there. But what I am trying to do here is to get my crit rate up to around 100%. Or like 90, 95. That's all relatively fine. Because once you get later and you switch off to this, getting all those gradient charges is actually going to be insane. But yeah, you don't really need it in the early and mid game. This is definitely more of a late game item switch. For the rest of the builds, I'm honestly going to be using the same weapon because it's my favorite weapon for this character. And it's actually my favorite for slightly different reasons depending on the build. But the Choralim is what you get in the Serene Arena by fighting a chromatic enemy. So as long as you explore in there, you should be able to walk away with this weapon. So what does this weapon do? 100% crit chance when 4 stains are simultaneously active. I think that is pointless. I do not care about that. The next 2 abilities are the ones that I love. Level 10. 20% increased damage for each consecutive turn without taking damage can stack up to 5 times. So when you're getting like Cheater and you're getting 2 turns in a row, this stacks up really, really fast. And this is really consistent. You don't need to do all kinds of fancy stuff. You just need to do what you're already trying to do. And that's avoid taking damage. So having something like base shield on or just being good at dodging will mean that you get a bunch of this. And even if it resets, you're still going to start stacking up really fast. So for the later the game you get for damage, I think this weapon becomes better and better and better, especially when you get to level 20, critical hits apply burn. You will see this in the burn build we're talking about specifically, but it works very, very well with Stormcaller. So this is the weapon I'm going to be using for the rest of the builds. All right, so we're going to start, I think, relatively weak, and we're going to work our way up stronger. And the very first one that I think is kind of weak is the Meme Dream. But this is one of my favorite ways to play. Even though people find it boring, this is my kind of thing. Fire Rage deals increasingly high fire damage to all enemies every turn until Lune receives damage. Stuns self if interrupted, and then use 2 ice to increase the damage. So this gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So when you're using this with the Choralim, you're already getting more damage because you're getting more stacks of this, and you're getting more damage because this is going up. So this is not like a super real build. This is just a lot of fun that I have. The thing that you want to make sure you want to make sure to have Ice Lance, because that gives you an ice and a light stain on your first turn, and then on your second turn you could Fire Rage with the consuming, because that will give you double damage, which I believe it doubles the rate at which it scales because you're always dealing double damage. So you definitely really want to consume the stains in order to make this skill good. And honestly, I'll show you, it went better than I thought. So let's give you a quick demonstration. Not a lot to say about it, but it is a fun skill. All right, here we are with the Meme Dream build. This one, our goal is very simple. We are going to Ice Lance once to get us the stains that we want, because this will increase the scaling of this ability. And then we are going to use Fire Rage and never get hit again, because we have the long dodge on. And be honest, we might still get hit, because this guy kind of... His stupid beam attack with the long dodge, I think, is actually kind of hard to dodge. Because it's hard to tell when you're, danger. But look how ridiculous that looks. I think I heard... I don't want to mention it in every single clip. All right. Boom. 1.1 million. And then we got 1.8 million. We're going good here. Uh-oh. This one's scary for me. All right. I got hit last time, so this is a new clip. But here we go. We're going to keep going. 2.6 million. Let's go. 3.7 million. Oh my god, you can't be stopped. 4.9. This thing scales out of control. A 7-hit combo. That's too big. I know my dodge looks ridiculous, all right? I know. All right, here we go. How much? 6 million? Oh, we might have wore off. Was 6 million the new record? Let's see how big the last hit was. 7.2 million. I mean, it's only a matter of time until that's the highest damage skill in the game. After 50 turns, move over, Mael. Next up is the ultimate burn build. I don't think anybody can apply as much burn as Lune can when you have this weapon. Because critical hits apply burn, and you have Stormcaller. All enemies receive medium lightning damage at the end of their turn, and low lightning damage when they receive damage. That's not 100% true because it doesn't self-proc, but you know what I mean. Whenever anyone hits them, including your allies, of course, then they will get hit by a little lightning bolt. Doesn't do a lot of damage. It does do a little bit, though. But what's important is that counts as a Lune attack. So when you are attacking with Mael 100,000 times with all the different shit she does, each of the time she's hitting, you're getting a Stormcaller proc, which is critting because you have 100% crit, and that is applying multiple burn because we have double burn on. Double burn is very important for this build. So this is mostly the interaction. If you want to get the most amount of burn possible, I'm telling you, I don't think there's another way to do it. Now, I did think that Mael's Faceum, it says propagates burn. I'm recording this after I did the recording of the fight. The propagate burn didn't seem to work, so I didn't get to that 1,000 threshold that I was trying to get to. But still, you get to an insane amount of burn. The issue is they usually die before you get a chance to get all that burn on there. But this is just, I don't know if this is like the most powerful way to kill enemies, but there is, I think this is actually really good. With Strelham having been, I don't know how to say it. I always say Strelham, and then everyone says I say it wrong because I don't know how to read, and that's probably true. But with that skill, Stendhal getting nerfed, then Burning Canvas might be the new #1 if you have like 700 burn, right? So that's what we're talking about. So I actually should try that. But this is almost a support build in the sense because you just generate a ton of fire. You're doing a bunch of passive stuff. So you could actually remove some of this stuff and use this weapon instead of the other weapon and still be mostly a support. Still slow them down, still use the Stormcaller. But really, with this weapon, the burn goes crazy. In fact, take a look. All right, so here is going to be an example of the burn build. This is not designed to do an insane amount of damage. It's designed to show you guys how much crazy burn you can get. Let's start by getting 1 burn on the character. That way we just know that we have enough there. And then we will energy tint here just because without the loadouts, I didn't want to go worry about getting all the energy and stuff. So we're just going to sit here. We're going to wait. We're going to let Lune go first. And this is where Wildfire is actually pretty good because it gives you the 2 stains you need for Stormcaller. And the way Stormcaller works is it doubles the Thunder Strikes. So that's very good. So let's go bada bang, bada boom. And so now we have the right things that we need, and then we have enough energy, and we can go Stormcaller. And now, anytime an enemy takes damage, they're getting crit twice. They're getting crit 3 times, or they're getting crit twice by Lune. So they're at 10 burn right now. Let's take a look at how crazy it goes, how fast. So boom, boom, 16, 18. I don't even know if it is hitting with the 2 lightning bolts. It looks like it is, but it might not actually proc based off both of those. So let's go ahead, bada bing, bada boom. We're just gonna keep mashing the buttons, right? We're not, this guy's not even set up optimally. He doesn't even have a second combo attack or anything, or a bunch of energy. So you can get a lot more, but luckily our character here has a lot of energy for the most part. And so there we go. Also, one thing you're gonna see us dodge. It's gonna be really awkwardly slow if you haven't already seen it yet in this video, because I'm recording a video about mods and I just haven't done that one yet, but I'm still recording it, so I haven't turned off the mods yet. So we're just gonna keep smacking this guy. No marks. Oh, there we go. They were hiding. So we're already up to 152 burn. Not bad, right? So watch this. That's so stupid. I'm excited for that video. So yeah, watch out for that video coming up. But they're at 156 burn. All right, let's go ahead and use breakpoint. And I'm not gonna hit the A on it. I think it should still break him even without it, just with much less damage. So now he's up to 314 burn, and we will just keep it going. All right, our goal is to get up to 1,000 just to show you that you can. So bada bomb, we're already up to 360. And in fact, the reason we're using this weapon, I don't know if I mentioned it in the other part, is because not her weapon. The reason we're using Mael's weapon is because it propagates the burn, so it won't just fall off when his turn comes up, right? So you do need to make sure you're auto attacking with Mael here. It is a pretty cool looking weapon too, if I might add. So we are up to the 500, almost, and he's still got HP. We're not worried about it. There we go. We just passed 500. So let's just do our attacks. Now we do need to wait for this guy to unstun. He might still be stunned. He is still stunned. So we don't need to do anything here. We don't need to do anything here because we don't want to use it yet while he's stunned. I mean, we could just go for more natural burn, I suppose, but he needs to have one more turn, and I don't want to screw it up. So let's just go ahead and end our turn here. Go ahead and do an auto attack. Get your energy back in case you need it, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to play suboptimally. So you do need to attack him here with your base attack, and in fact, do 2 of those just to make me feel safe. So that will propagate the burn. And now he is burnt for 1 million, which is not that much. He's no longer stunned. Okay, maybe I'm talking up my butt. His burden did fall off. Maybe I messed something up. But the point is, it looks like you could, we could at least get the 500 pretty easily. And let's see how high we can get before he dies, actually. Why not? He's never going to get a chance to move again, so we might as well see what we can get here. We do need to get our, let's just do Stormcaller. It didn't look like the updated version actually did that much for us, so we'll just do the normal one here, and then we will get into the attacks. Just see how much burn we can get more naturally. Naturally, he says. It's 600 burn. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, what's natural to you, There we go. 626. 632. Let's go. Sometimes you can get, like, basically infinite shots as well, which is just awesome, right? Like, it could just keep going and going and going and going. 700 burn. Boom. 3 million. Yeah, I mean, it is falling off, so the propagating apparently means something different than what I think it does. All right, so that's on me, I'll admit. All right, let's just finish him off here and move on to the next build. So you can see we got up to almost 800 burn ourselves. Now, relatively early in the game, if you want to deal single target damage, early, mid, and maybe not early, but like, early to mid game, in the beginning of late game, Lightning Dance is the way to go. This is an incredibly powerful skill. For the stage of the game, you're able to use it. Once you get to the late game and you're easily able to use Elemental Genesis and level 3 Gradient skills, it definitely falls off a bit. But up until that point, like where you're in the super powerful late game, this is one of the better skills you could be using here. Very high single target lightning damage, 6 hits. Critical hits trigger an additional hit. So you could think about this as critical hits already deal, I don't know. I think they do double damage. I don't quite remember if sometimes it's 50% more, sometimes it's double. But not only does it do additional damage, it also does an additional hit, which also crits. So you're doing like 4 times damage from crits. Also, this has an incredibly high multiplier for multiplier, like Markiplier, when you actually consume the stains. So this is a very powerful single target build. And again, you're going to equip all the powerful Luminas. And the reason you're using this weapon is mostly for the damage increase. Yes, there are other weapons that do things like, when you consume stains, you get more damage. But I don't really like these things that have a 50% chance to generate a dark stain, but only when I consume a different stain. And then once I get 4 stains, now I can do a little bit more damage. I'm like, just give me more damage all the time, always. I don't want to even have to think about it, right? And I'm still applying burn. But I still think this is the weapon that I'm going to be using most of the time. Plus, it has a scaling and agility, which is pretty darn good. I really like that. But yeah, basically, Lightning Dance is super, super powerful, and this is one you should be considered using if you're going to use her as a single target damage dealer. This is where you want to go. Yes, you can use the Crustal Crush. Crustal Crush is good, but it is not nearly as powerful. It could be a little bit easier to get the actual stains to do it, because it only needs 2 stains, but it's the same energy cost. It's less hits, it's less damage, it's less multiplier. It does do break damage, and I like this ability, but if you're really trying to kill stuff, I'm telling you, Lightning Dance is crazy. So you want to be using this with pretty much but you really need to get that crit chance. So make sure when you're going into the Luminas here, you are going as much crit as you can. And then, it's the usual suspects, right? When it comes to offense, Teamwork, warming up, shield affinity, immaculate, full strength, greater powerful, glass cannon. I'm using solo fighter because I just had it without the loadouts. It's kind of annoying to switch between all of these things, but generally just get everything that increases your damage. I don't really care about defensive stuff that much, other than maybe base shield in the late game because it's so strong. But yeah, this is where you want to go. And here is what it looks like. All right, so here's just an example of the single target damage. He doesn't have defenseless on him, so we're not going to do quite as much damage. This isn't like a super high damage kind of thing, but this is pretty consistent. What I like about Lightning Dance is that it's just pretty easy to do nearly every single turn, because you could always elemental trick into it, and then after you use Lightning Dance a couple of times, it's generating the light resource. So you will be able to use this 2 times in a row, assuming you have the energy for it. So let's take a look at the kind of damage we're doing here. Absolutely one of my favorite skills. So we did about 8 million there, which is that pretty good? I think that's pretty good. It requires no gradient charge, but again, we're not Mael, all right? So let's cut that out. Finally, what I think is probably the most powerful, why is my camera like that, Lune build, is going to be the Gradient Elemental Genesis build. So if you come over to her skill tree here, you can see she has this really sick ass gradient skill. And it does do all enemies. So this is the best like AoE build, but I also think it's probably just her best overall damage build in general, because Skybreak is kind of nuts. So it is a level 3 gradient, which is tough. So this is a team build. This is a build designed for your whole team to basically be involved, not just Lune. And so you're building around this to an extent, not heavy, but you need to get these gradient charges. So the whole point of this is to get your gradient, to get 1 light, 1 stain of any type, it doesn't matter. Then you're going to use Skybreak as soon as you can, and then that's going to do a nice big hit that can break. It doesn't usually break. And then with your second turn, because you get 2 turns in a row, the first turn you use Skybreak, the second turn you use turn you use Elemental Genesis, which is 8 hits of extreme damage, does triple your damage multiplier. It can only be used if you have all the stains, but because your Elemental Skybreak here does generate 3 light, as long as you have 1 of any kind of stain besides, I guess, dark stain, then you'll be able to cast that skill directly into this skill. And so you're doing like 20 million damage or something. And what's good about this, which I think I mentioned in the clip, is that it's AoE. Yes, Mael can do more damage than this, but Mael doesn't do as much damage AoE. She does more damage single target. So this is probably the best AoE damage that I've used myself. I'll be honest, I haven't used everything in the game, but I have used a lot. So very, very powerful kind of 1-2 punch. I would always keep Elemental Trick on in this case, just because this is like the poor man's version. If you don't have the ability to get all the gradient skills up, you can Elemental Trick directly into Elemental Genesis, right? That's clearly what they're for. You do need to get 4 crits in a row. That shouldn't be that hard at this stage. But even if you don't, you could build towards Elemental Genesis pretty quickly, and this ability is very strong. So you are going to want to be using that. And this is where I give an honorable mention to the Bracelim weapon again. The level 10 giving you 5% of a gradient charge on a critical hit is so good. It lets you get so much more gradient charges really fast. So if you're having trouble getting to that level 3 every single turn to keep it going, then you might want to switch to a less powerful weapon, but a more consistent weapon like this. And then if you get a whole team built around getting those gradient charges up a little bit faster, then maybe you come back to the Chromalim, because this will do more damage overall. And also it'll just apply a bunch of burn, which is kind of always a nice little plus anyway, because it turns on all kinds of passives, you know. But yeah, here is how that build goes. So here is the example of the best AoE I believe Lune could do. What's really good, again, about this, yes, Mael does more damage on average, but that is single target. When it comes to AoE, I actually think Lune is kind of got it made. So we're going to show you basically the poor version and the rich version. So we're going to start building up gradient charges. I don't have like a whole lot of stuff for gradient charges right now. I have some of the skills, but not like an insane amount. So or weapons. So we're just gonna kind of build it up the old-fashioned way really quick here. So 1 second. All right, so this is the ideal setup for when you're doing a late game thing. We have our full gradient charges. We are going to use our Sky Break ability, which also can break, but this just does a ton of damage and generates all the light stains we're going to need. I do also have the lightning ability on, so it'll do a little more damage here. But because of our double turns and it generating all the light stains, we get to go straight from this skill. Bada bing. Let's take a look there. 10 million damage on that hit. And then we get to go directly into Elemental Genesis. Although our powerful wore off, so you could probably get even more damage than what I'm about to show you here. But for 2 turns back to back, honestly, that's 15 million. And honestly, that's pretty darn good. And there we have it. 5 different ways to play Lune. Now, we didn't go into the most crazy depth with like the Luminas and stuff like that. But because that's all, again, like I said in the beginning, it's kind of a pick your favorite. I wanted to showcase skills and some weapons and the way you could play her in completely different ways. Even if you're building her for damage, you could do damage in different ways. If you want her to support, you can kind of have her support in different ways. So yeah, a lot of characters have all kinds of builds. So I thought it'd be fun to just do 5 kind of demonstrations in one little short video. That way you guys could, I mean, I don't know how short it is, but that way you guys could see exactly what is going on and kind of how I approach these kinds of things. Anyway, guys, that is all for this one. Much love. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye.